So we're interested in osteoarthritis, which is one of the commonest forms of arthritis. About 8.5 million people in the UK live with osteoarthritis, which commonly affects the large joints, the hip, the knee and the hand. And at the moment we don't have good treatments that slow that condition down, and that's led to increasing numbers of people needing expensive joint replacement surgery. But we have, and that's a very effective treatment, but we have very little to actually offer people in terms of medical treatment earlier on in the disease. And this is the area that we're working in. We'd really like to develop better tests and also treatments for people who are at risk of osteoarthritis or who have early osteoarthritis. And we feel that this is a really important challenge that's facing the NHS and globally. If we don't achieve ways of treating this disease earlier on, we're facing real socioeconomic challenges in terms of the increases that we're seeing in this disease and the cost to healthcare services in terms of treating the disease. Despite it being so common, we haven't got any really good tests that predict where people end up with the disease or any good medical treatments for the disease. And we've spent quite a lot of time on clinical trials that have not shown benefit with a number of drugs. So in this fellowship, I am proposing to break things down and look at a subgroup of people in whom we feel that we can understand the disease better and make impact, and that's post-traumatic osteoarthritis. These are people who have a high risk of osteoarthritis because of a joint injury, and we know their risk because we know the timing of that injury, and that means that we can get into that window after the injury and understand much more about the disease. First of all, we can understand their response at the time of the injury and how that predicts outcome. And we can also potentially, if we can understand those processes that are happening in the joint at the time of the injury that lead to osteoarthritis, we can develop treatments that actually block that process to try to prevent osteoarthritis. And the hope here really is that we can come up with we would call a combined test. So it takes into account lots of different factors, both factors about the person and things that we can tell from them in the clinic, but perhaps also markers that we can measure in the blood or the knee fluid or in fact in their genes that together give us a much better idea of whether they're going to develop osteoarthritis in the future. And this is really important because until we can do this, it's very difficult for us to design effective trials in this area. The other big challenge that we hope to deal with is that at the moment it's very hard to run trials looking at prevention of osteoarthritis. This process happens over a long time and we need better markers earlier on that tell us whether people are developing the condition or not. And so we've done some work initially working again with international stakeholders to try to understand how we might design and conduct trials at the time of joint injury to actually prevent osteoarthritis. But in this fellowship, we'll take this forward and try to develop guidelines, and this will form a foundation for people like us and others who might want to run trials in this area. I think the fellowship is incredibly important for me in terms of building on the work that we've already done. I couldn't have got to this point without the support of Versus Arthritis, formerly Arthritis Research UK. They fund a number of centres of excellence, including ours, which is the Centre for Osteoarthritis Pathogenesis, and this work has really developed out of work that has been funded through that centre. I'd also like to thank the Kennedy Trust for Rheumatology Research, who funded our initial KICK study, which has really been the foundation for this work. And also NIHR, who fund a hand osteoarthritis study that we're carrying out at the moment.